Does Star Trek still matter? This is the question posed by the magazine Variety about the future of a franchise that has become an institution in science fiction along with pop culture itself. But with many of the newer Trek projects coming to an end, some sooner than originally planned, a lot of longtime supporters of this 50-plus year continuous narrative are wondering if things will soon be ending. Well, not according to the people at Paramount who were interviewed for this article, which gives fans a better look at what is in store for them in the coming years, which includes news about not only Strange New Worlds, but also the new series Starfleet Academy, along with details about as many as 3 films in some state of production. The largest nugget of information was about one of these films, that being Section 31, with the reveal that a legacy character will be a part of the cast, along with our first look at the movie. But before I get into all that, I just want to thank you for clicking on this video and ask that if you do enjoy it, to please hit that like button to help support the channel. All of this information comes from a piece that Variety recently published called The Future of Star Trek, From Starfleet Academy to New Movies and Michelle Yeoh, how the 58-year-old franchise is planning for the next generation of fans. This is a rather long, expansive article, which I highly recommend that you read, and I will link in the description. In it, Alex Kurtzman talks about his future in Star Trek and responds to that same story that comes out every 6 months or so that he has done at Paramount. That does not seem to be the case now, and Mr. Kurtzman states that he has many plans for future projects, some that fans still do not even know about, and that he will keep making Star Trek until he has no more ideas. This is of course juxtaposed by the uncertain future of the studio who employs him, Paramount, and that they can and probably will be sold in the coming year to a new owner that could then make any changes that they see fit. But at least for now, Alex Kurtzman does seem to have the support of the studio, with the head of CBS Studios stating in the article that Star Trek is one of the most valued, treasured, and to-be-nurtured franchises in all of media. Speaking of stories that seem to pop up every 6 months or so, the Variety article also revealed that Paramount recently hired a new writer for the follow-up film to Star Trek Beyond that would include at least some of the cast from that movie. I have done quite a few videos on my channel about the history of this project, and if you would like to watch them to learn more about it, then I highly recommend you do so. But at this point, I do not want to report on anything about this film until we hear something more concrete. The new writer's name is Steve Yockey, and most of his credits are in televised series like Supernatural. The article also revealed that the studio sees this film as the final one for this cast, and all indications are that the studio plans to move forward regardless of the future of this film with different actors in many of the roles, such as the characters that appear on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This is only one of the 3 new movies that we could be seeing in the near future, and the second one that I'm going to discuss is definitely the most mysterious, which is the film that is being directed by Toby Haynes. I spoke about this movie in a video recently, and I mentioned how I was excited about this director choice because Toby Haynes also directed the highly regarded Black Mirror episode USS Callister, which is a dark parody of Star Trek. This film is being made from a script written by Seth Grahame-Smith, the author of the novels Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, as well as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, both of which have been adapted as feature films. This film is still in pre-production, and it will serve as an origin story of sorts for the main timeline of the entire franchise. This could mean that this movie will take place before the time of the series Enterprise, which tried to show the audience the birth of the Federation. The article also revealed that this film is on track to begin production by the end of 2024, which could lead to a release in 2026. Before I discuss the Section 31 film, I just wanted to quickly touch on the news about both series, Strange New Worlds, and Starfleet Academy. There was not a lot revealed about the upcoming 3rd season of Strange New Worlds, besides confirming that it will be released in 2025, roughly 2 years after the release of the 2nd season. Many fans like myself were hoping for a late 2024 release date, but the prolonged writers and actors strike made that an impossibility. The article also has a lot of fun quotes from members of the cast, and released a picture from the filming of an episode, which shows Ethan Peck as Spock in a science lab. Starfleet Academy, a new series that will hopefully be released in 2025, has assembled a writer's room that includes Lower Decks cast member Tawny Newsome, and they are currently writing scripts. The article did confirm that this series will take place in the 32nd century, which will continue the narrative that many thought was ending with the cancellation of Star Trek Discovery before the release of its upcoming 5th season. This means that there is almost a guarantee that at least some characters from Star Trek Discovery will show up on Starfleet Academy as well, with many believing that Mary Weissman as Tilly is a frontrunner for a possible lead role. It was also revealed that the series will take place at a new Starfleet Academy in San Francisco on Earth, where the original institution was located before the burn. Because of the events that took place during that time period, these cadets will have no experience with space travel, and many have never even used a phaser or a transporter, which sounds to me like an interesting take on this idea. But the information that I found to be most noteworthy was that about the new film Section 31, starring Michelle Yeoh. The article provided our first look at the film with this picture, which shows Ms. Yeoh speaking with a character that has some cybernetic implants. This level of technology, along with some casting news, may place at least some of the events of this film later in the Star Trek timeline than when her character was originally from, since the article also revealed that one cast member would be playing a character that Star Trek fans have seen on screen before. Actress Casey Roll will be playing a younger version of the character Rachel Garrett, who appeared in the third season Star Trek Next Generation episode titled Yesterday's Enterprise, where the audience learns that she was the captain of the ill-fated USS Enterprise C, the ship that preceded the one led by Jean-Luc Picard. In that episode, Captain Garrett and her ship and crew are sent to a future that has been devastated by a war between the Federation and Klingons, where they cross paths with that universe's version of the USS Enterprise D. Together, they learn that due to the USS Enterprise C being removed from that timeline, the ship and her crew were not able to defend a Klingon outpost from a Romulan attack, an event that would lead to a better relationship between the two warring factions and avert the future they now occupied. However, Captain Garrett was killed within this new timeline during a battle, and her XO was forced to lead the ship to its rightful place in history, which brings me to my theory about the plotline for this film. I think that the Section 31 movie could be about Philippa Georgiou being sent to different time periods to help important figures, basically making this film Star Trek's version of the classic sci-fi series Quantum Leap. The last we saw Philippa Georgiou, she was being sent through a portal to an unknown destination by the Guardian of Forever during the third season of Star Trek Discovery. The reason for this was that she was not able to stay in the 32nd century due to her not only being from a different time period, but also because she's from an alternate universe. But this does not mean that she has to go back to her exact time period or universe, just that she can't be so far in the future from it without being torn apart. Rachel Garrett was captain of the Enterprise C in 2344, which means that she was born sometime in the later half of the 23rd century. The USS Discovery time traveled to the 32nd century from the year 2258, which is still quite a few years before Rachel Garrett would have even existed, which means that at least some of the Section 31 movie will take place in the early 2300s, decades after the USS Discovery left the timeline with Philippa Georgiou. But I think that Strange New Worlds may have already shown us how this plotline could come to be from the finale of their first season. In the episode of Quality of Mercy, the audience witnesses another alternate timeline in which Spock has been killed due to the actions of Captain Pike trying to rectify his own fate. A different version of Christopher Pike from this future returns to meet his younger self and advises him against these actions, ensuring the proper flow of the timeline. It is never explained in that episode how the older Pike traveled back in time in order to complete his mission. So, this new film could give us those answers and show us how Section 31 has been sending agents through time, like Pike and Georgiou, to ensure that history happens as it should. The second season of Star Trek Picard also included a plotline in which a Romulan character named Talon was sent back to the 21st century to ensure the future of one of Jean-Luc Picard's ancestors. So there is a lot of precedence recently for this type of plot device. Even Akiva Goldsman, one of the head producers of Star Trek, has teased an idea of his for an anthology series. In 2022, he had this to say about this idea. There's something that I like, which I think Robert Kirkman is doing right now with The Walking Dead, which is a kind of, I'll call it Tales of the Federation, where you would just do one-offs, right? So you could bring George Takei back for an hour and do a show about Sulu as an older man, or find Jonathan Archer having now retired from his Enterprise and being on Earth, just do these certain really interesting ones. This Section 31 film was first planned as a series and was changed to a film during pre-production, and the idea of the Section 31 series happened when both Michelle Yeoh and Akiva Goldsman were still a part of Star Trek Discovery. So could this movie be the first chapter in this anthology series idea, which would have Philippa Georgiou, a character who has already traveled through space and time, being sent back to help important figures in the future history of Star Trek like Rachel Garrett? If this is true, it also leaves open the possibility for Philippa Georgiou to meet an older Jonathan Archer, still played by Sam Beckett himself, Scott Bakula.
I'm gonna lose my freaking mind!
Well, that was everything I had, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget to hit that like button before you go, and I'll see you next time on What Did I Miss?